Welcome to the Real Estate Espresso Podcast, your morning shot of what's new in the world of real estate investing. I'm your host, Victor Menasce. This is the weekend edition where we interview notable people from the world of real estate investing. Today is no exception. We have a great guest all the way from Tucson, Arizona. Welcome to the show, Kevin May.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Victor. Great to be here.
Well, great to have you here. Now, Kevin, you've been in this game for a number of years, both on the lending side as a consultant, and today you're deep in the world of land and land trading, land development. Definitely want to talk about that. But before we jump into the details, maybe give a little bit of your backstory and how you got to this point in your journey.
A sure thing. Yeah. So I was always in the marketing world in one way or another. I was in the tech space fresh out of college. Then I transitioned over to commercial real estate. Not long after, right around 2001, I ended up in New York working for a due diligence provider named IVI. They've since been acquired by CBRE. But what we were doing there, we were monitoring very large construction projects for the banks, protecting their interests, and also doing large portfolios of properties for commercial real estate lenders. Then my career found me out in Los Angeles, working in that same industry for about 10 years in the LA market. Really was just kind of sick of working for somebody else, wanted to do my own thing and be able to work from anywhere in the world. So I decided that a real estate website would be a great idea. So launched landhub.com. So we are a national land listing website. We list all kinds of land for sale, from a little piece of desert to $25 million ranch. We have all different types of land across the country.
Fascinating. Well, we share that in common in the sense that I started my career early on also in the tech industry, actually in microprocessor design. So that was my start to the career as well.
Yeah, wow. And how did you get into real estate?
So I switched into real estate, would have been around 2009. I just completed my 18th or 20th trip to Tokyo in a year and a half, building a new cellular network for the number 4 carrier in Japan. And it was burning me out physically, emotionally. That 13-hour plane ride and 12-hour time zone difference was punishing on the body. And there was this thing going on in the United States, you might remember it, around 2009, that looked like the opportunity of a lifetime, which it was. And so I made the decision to take a hard left turn in my career and move full-time into the world of real estate investing and development.
Yeah, okay, great.
So fast forward to today, you've got LandHub. Now, in the wake of the great financial crisis, we're clearly going into an economic cycle. The value of land fluctuates on a different basis than, let's say, the rest of retail real estate. If, let's say, a single-family home goes down 10%, land might go down by more than that, or maybe less, depending on what that piece of land is, depending on what the time horizon is. I remember in the wake of the great financial crisis, development land just vanished. It was just not in demand at all because you could buy things so far below the cost of construction, it didn't make sense to build. And so literally it felt like the bottom fell out of the market. What are you seeing today?
Yeah, we've definitely seen a little bit of a slowdown. The land market has just been crazy the past couple of years. COVID certainly helped it. People were looking to get out of the big cities. And so land kind of did become a very hot commodity. And our business has grown tremendously. Keep in mind, we're a land listing service, so we're not actually selling the land. We're just helping to market it. But yeah, we've seen just properties that are on the market, less than a week. People don't even have a chance to load them through our website and they sell them. So that was kind of the last 2 years. And now, like the rest of the real estate market, we're definitely seeing a little bit of a slowdown. But there's still quite an appetite for land out there, whether it's somebody looking to escape the city and buy that vacation home, that mountain cabin, or permanently move their family to a more rural area.
If you were to segment your customers, the folks that use LandHub, how many of them would you say are, or perhaps what percentage are owner-occupants, folks that are going to use the land for themselves versus more of that professional category that are going to use the land maybe for a business or perhaps use the land for development purposes?
Good question. The majority of our land is residential it could be a $25 million ranch. So it's not, your typical residential. We do some commercial land as well, but most of our clients that list land on our site are brokers that just focus on land. So I don't know if you're familiar with the Realtors Land Institute. They've got, well over 1,000 members, and these are realtors that just focus on land across the country. So that's one aspect of it. And then there's a bunch of wholesalers in the U.S. that are just buying up, thousands of pieces of land across the country at a discount, and then flipping that land and selling it to end users, usually with owner financing. So, they make some money on the sale of the land, and then they also make money on the financing.
One of the things that's different about land, of course, as compared with finished product, is the value of the land is often tied to what you can do with it. It's tied to entitlement. So, for example, a piece of agricultural land might trade at, let's say, I don't know, somewhere between $3,000 and $10,000 an acre, pretty much anywhere in the country, unless you're growing wheat on it, in which case you might get a little bit more. You start to put residential homes on it, it's worth more. You start to put high-rise buildings on it, it's worth a whole lot more. When you come across land, how do you perform any due diligence on it? Or are you simply listing it and letting the buyers figure it out?
The buyers would have to figure out the due diligence aspect. We have some companies that we work with that can provide that service for them. We don't personally get involved with that. So that really is on the buyer to do that due diligence. But, the big thing right now are water rights, because, water is so scarce. Especially living here in Arizona, we're very aware of water, and we're really seeing that, more so on the West Coast, the Western United States, where water is definitely an issue, and that's what people really want to know about more than anything these days when they're buying land is, what are the water rights, and is that well going to keep pumping out water?
And there are two different systems for determining water rights. Most of the eastern United States is based on something that dates back to British common law, which is riparian water rights, and many of the western states follow the doctrine of prior appropriations. And they're vastly different in terms of water rights. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that affects what it is that you do?
We don't get too involved personally. It's really, again, that would come up to the buyer as far as, figuring out what those water rights are. Obviously, if you're buying agricultural land, that's a huge issue. If you're buying a piece of property to build a house, it's a totally separate, but it's still an important issue to you, right? So you want to make sure that if you're on a well, that the well is, going to keep. You're going to want to get that well tested and make sure that the well is good. But yeah, in the agricultural, it's a completely different world. And as you said, that would be some due diligence that you want to do to make sure that property is going to, that you're going to have access to water.
So what is it that distinguishes LandHub from, say, just the regular MLS listing service?
Good question. Once you get outside of the major metropolitan areas, the MLS doesn't really work for lands. A lot of land doesn't even have an address yet if it's an undeveloped piece of property in the middle of nowhere. So what most people do is they list it on a site like LandHub. There's quite a few other competitors out there. CoStar, who I'm sure you're familiar with,
right?
They bought up several of the land sites a few years back, so they have a large. They're under land.com. They have a very large presence. There's a few others out there as well. But what really sets LandHub apart is we've embraced social media from the time we launched the site. We embraced social media, so we market all of our clients' properties across social media, which everybody is using social media these days, you would think. But a lot of these realtors have been around a while. They don't want to figure out how to use Facebook. They don't have the desire to do it. They don't have the know-how to do it. So they're happy to pay a company like us to market their properties on social media for them.
Okay, so that's fascinating because, yeah, you're right. Especially in the rural areas, some of the established brokers, maybe a little bit of old school. They probably graduated from pen and paper to computers, but they're probably not They are probably not necessarily the greatest experts on Instagram and all the various other platforms that are getting a lot of attention these days.
Yeah, very true. I mean, a lot of our clients are ranchers. They grew up on a ranch and now they decided that they're going to sell ranches. And the last thing, and they love being out driving around in their truck, looking at ranches all day and showing ranches. And the last thing they want to do is come home and, get on the computer and try to figure out how to put a property online and market it on social media. So that's really where we come in. And that's really our niche.
Fascinating. And so you've got folks like ranchers that are sellers, and you talked a little bit about who some of the buyers are. Are these city dwellers that just want a hobby farm, or are these folks that are just looking to get away, or folks that are looking to invest in land, or all of the above?
Really, all of the above. We've seen, as I mentioned, with COVID, a bunch of people on the residential side looking to get out of the city. Then there's a second home crowd, people that want that ranch in Colorado, to escape New York City with the family, to spend the holidays, go on their ski trips, etc. And then there's the commercial, the commercial land where people are looking to develop, apartment buildings or high rises or any number of commercial developments. And that, as you know, since you're in that space, that obviously takes a lot more pre-planning and a lot more due diligence for those commercial deals.
Absolutely. Well, Kevin, if folks want to connect, if they want to learn more, what's the best way?
Sure. So the website is landhub.com, LANDHUB. And my email is kmay@landhub.com. And our phone number is 844-452-6348.
Fabulous. Well, Kevin, love the perspective. And for the listeners at home, definitely connect with Kevin May at landhub.com. Email address is kmay, M-A-Y, at landhub.com. The link will be in the show notes. And in the meantime, have an awesome rest of your weekend. Go make some great things happen. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.